Bert Roukens joins me now. He is with the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Change in the Netherlands. Thank you so much for taking the time. Now, Bert, bring us back a little bit perhaps in history, because you've been associated with the International Energy Forum for quite a while.
Yes, that's right. The Netherlands organized the Ministerial of the IF in 2004, and that was the time that, on the proposal of the Saudi Arabian king, IF was establishing its secretariat. So we were responsible for making the arrangement and setting it up.
And again, when we look back on those years and the work that has been done and the almost departments within the IEF that's been put in place, the JODI, the data collection, all of that, I mean, how have you seen the organization progress? And also you've been very active yourself, being on the board.
Well, in the early years of this millennium, it was very necessary that energy producers and energy consumers were discussing with each other, because that was sometimes the problem. We've seen this change because of the IF, but also because the international situation changed. And what we see now, that they find each other a lot more easier than at that times. But it also means that the IF, I think, has to reflect about what it's going to do now, or at least what is surplus value for the future. Because if everyone finds itself, if companies and governments come together every once in a while, the question is what the IF has to add to that.
No, it's so true, because I think when we started in the beginning, it was about bringing producers and consumers together. And we look now at the relations between the IEA and OPEC, and we even heard Mr. Barkindo and Fatih Birol being the best of friends yesterday. Yeah. So, but also, where's the role of IEF particularly to, I think, in the data gathering? I talked to a lot of people after the JODI seminar just the other day too, and a lot of journalists and a lot of other people, and they're really expanding the data collection. I know they say themselves they have to do a lot more work, but that seems to be also really progressing, and it seems to be essential.
Yeah, it's very essential. Because when you want to discuss developments in future, you have to know the facts. And I think this JODI cooperation is good cooperation among these institutes under the coordination of the IF, and I think that certainly have to progress it on that. It always remains a bit difficult a task, because every country has to cooperate and to bring its figures timely and actively to the JODI group. But so far I think it's working, and I think they have to continue that.
Now, talk to me a little bit about the energy environment in the Netherlands, in Europe, and indeed globally, where you're looking at the state of play at the moment.
Yeah. Well, when you look to Europe and the Netherlands within Europe, you see a very active, a very deliberate discussion about transition. We are a very active supporter of the Paris Agreement in 2015 concluded and signed, which says that we have to reduce our CO2 emissions to about zero, which is a magnificent but also a very challenging task. And that is where Europe, and especially my country, is concentrating on now. That is to say that we are now having a discussion between all stakeholders in the Netherlands to make a plan to reduce the CO2 emissions in the coming decades, and also to have this discussion in Europe to have ambitious goals which support what every country is doing by now. I think we will concentrate on that in the coming years, and of course we will be present in these kind of international gatherings. But when you look to the policy, we are especially focusing on accomplishing this difficult task.
Now, of course, the IEF, one of the key pillars too, is bringing everyone together, facilitating that dialogue. And here, for the last few days in India, particularly, to tremendous focus on ministerials, on government, on organizations, on bodies. Really a huge, diverse group of people brought together. Is that, I think, the maybe takeaway from this ministerial, really, that it's almost shifted up a gear, and the dialogue has definitely expanded?
The dialogue has expanded, and when you're talking about what the IEF role in future should be, I think that it's important to focus on this transition, because it may differ how do you look to that? Maybe some countries are a bit hesitant to talk too much about that. But I think it's important to bring producers and consumers. The distinction is a bit more vague nowadays, but at least to bring these countries together and to discuss how they will change the energy world together and in an orderly way.